Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So today we're doing something a little different. We're tackling a source that's incredibly short, really potent.
Yeah, just a tiny excerpt, really, from the music video Hopeful, Wild One.
Exactly. And our mission is to treat this like a compressed poem or maybe a philosophical map. We want to pull out the core message about personal change, struggle, all that good stuff.
It's fascinating because it's so dense. You've got hope, you've got this feeling of being burdened, and then these really stark contradictions packed into just a few lines.
It feels less like lyrics sometimes and more like stage directions for an internal battle.
That's a good way to put it. It maps out the pain, the intention, even the energy needed.
Yeah.
It's quite detailed for something so brief.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The very first lines seem to set up a conflict straight away. What's the core tension driving things here?
Well, it kicks off with this line. You've been trying to grow simultaneously, nothing new home.
Right, trying to grow, but nothing new home. That hits hard.
It really does. It speaks to that feeling, you know? You're putting in the work, trying to change inside.
Yeah, the effort is real.
But your environment, your physical space, maybe your routines, they're still the same. Nothing new home. It's like the outside hasn't caught up with the inside yet.
So it's this disconnect between internal effort and external reality.
Precisely. There's this psychological friction.
Yeah.
You're striving to be this new version of yourself, but the old setting, the familiar home, keeps pulling you back, reminding you of the way things were.
Is that just comfort, the familiarity, or something deeper pulling things back?
I think it's both, honestly. There's the comfort of the known, sure. That's powerful. But home also represents established patterns, maybe even the expectations of others, the inertia of your past life.
So the place itself becomes like an anchor.
Exactly. An anchor holding you in the present or even the past while you're trying to sail towards a different future self. It's a constant battle against that inertia.
And that feeling of being anchored, of being stuck despite the effort, that leads right into why this change feels so necessary, doesn't it? It's not just wanting to grow, it's needing to escape something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People don't usually embrace this kind of difficult internal work unless staying put becomes, well, unbearable.
The source text gets really emotional here. It says, so much hope the past has got to go. It's weighing down your soul. You're so sick and tired. You know it's time to leave the past behind.
Notice the language weighing down your soul.
Yeah, it's not just memory.
No, it's a physical burden,
Yeah.
a heavy weight. And that phrase, sick and tired, that's profound exhaustion. It's not just being a bit weary, it's hitting a wall.
We've all felt that, right? That point where you're just done. But this isn't passive tiredness. It sounds like the kind that forces you to act.
Exactly. It's the catalyst. The pain of not changing finally outweighs the fear or difficulty of changing. The hope mentioned is tied directly to shedding that weight.
So the past isn't just history lessons. It's an active force holding you down in that nothing new home.
That's the connection. If the home hasn't changed, it means the past is still physically, or at least psychologically, present. It's exerting that pull, that weight. You have to see it as an anchor to be cut loose.
Like you finally realize you can't climb any higher carrying this massive backpack filled with, well, the past. You have to drop it.
Precisely. And acknowledging that unbearable weight, that sick and tired feeling, that's what gives the energy for the next part, which gets really interesting.
Okay, yeah, here's where it gets really interesting philosophically. Right after establishing this desperate need to ditch the past, the lyrics do this complete 180 on how to handle the struggle. First, there's this really strong defensive stance.
Right. You get 4 repetitions.
Yeah.
I won't let it bring me down.
That sounds like pure willpower, determination. I will resist this pain, this weight.
It's the ego, maybe. Putting up shields.
Yeah.
Declaring control. Refusing to be vulnerable to the pain. It's the classic fight response.
That's usually our first instinct, isn't it? Just fight back, don't let it win. Seems like strength.
It seems like strength. But think about how much energy pure resistance takes. Constantly pushing back against that weight. It's exhausting. You're just maintaining the struggle, not resolving it.
Okay. Because then, immediately after those 4, I won't let it flips. Completely.
Yes. With no transition, just boom, I will let it bring me down. And that's repeated twice.
Wow. So from I refuse to fall to I accept falling. My first thought is weakness, giving in.
That's the surface reading, for sure. It looks like collapse, like the determination failed.
Yeah.
But what if it's not weakness? What if it's actually a more advanced form of strength, a necessary step?
How so? How is letting something bring you down stronger?
Well, think about it. Maybe the realization hits that resisting is the thing draining all the energy, that fighting it head-on isn't working. Perhaps true strength, the kind needed for transformation, requires you to first acknowledge the full reality of the pain.
So you have to feel it fully. Stop fighting it for a moment.
Kind of, yeah. You have to let the wave wash over you instead of trying to punch it.
Well,
You let it bring you down, not as a final defeat, but as a way to actually understand what you're dealing with, to
Yeah.
process it.
so I will let it bring me down isn't giving up. It's strategic surrender.
Yeah.
Allowing the feeling so you can move through it.
Exactly. Resistance keeps the internal war going. This temporary acceptance, this letting it, might free up the energy needed for real change, for healing. You have to actually see the wound clearly before you can treat it properly.
It's like the soul telling the ego, okay, stand down for a second. I need to deal with this.
That's a great way to put it. And if you don't allow that moment, if you just keep resisting, maybe you never truly understand the weight you're carrying, which means you can't actually leave it behind.
So the contradiction itself, the won't versus the will, that tension is the process of growth happening. It's messy.
Very messy and deeply necessary, it seems. Which brings us to the catalyst the text mentions, the thing required for this whole process.
Right, it uses that word, heat.
Yeah, heat to grow, and then it repeats heat up here twice.
So after all this talk of struggle, wait, resistance, surrender, what is this heat? Is it passion? Pressure? Friction? Anger? What are we talking about?
I think it's kind of a synthesis of all that pressure and friction. The text suggests that real fundamental growth needs intensity. Like forging metal.
Okay, explain that.
Well, you don't make steel stronger by gently polishing it, right? You need intense heat to change its actual structure. Then you cool it fast to lock in that new strength. The heat to grow is that necessary intensity.
So the emotional struggle itself, the friction between the past weighing you down and the future you're trying to reach, that generates the heat.
That's how I read it. The pain isn't just something to get rid of, it's actually the fuel source. The back and forth between I won't and I will, that internal conflict, creates the friction. The heat is the energy that results from that intense process.
And heat up here, maybe meaning it's primarily a mental or internal intensity inside your head or your soul.
Could be. It's happening in the core of the self,
Hmm.
where that battle is taking place. It's like an internal pressure cooker. You need that intensity to melt down the old, rigid structures of the past self.
That makes a lot of sense. Small changes might come from slight discomfort, but big transformations, they need that higher temperature. The kind of heat that only comes from being truly sick and tired and then facing the pain directly, even letting it bring you down for a moment.
Exactly. It reframes the whole process. Growth isn't gentle, it's a forging. The struggle, the pain, the contradictions, they aren't obstacles to growth. They are the necessary ingredients for it. They generate the required heat.
Wow. Okay, so that really brings our deep dive together. This short piece of text, it maps out a journey where hope requires facing a burden, and growth requires this intense heat that's generated by a really complex, even contradictory internal process. It's not linear at all.
Not at all. The synthesis seems to be, you start with effort, trying to grow. You're driven by the pain of the present, sick and tired, weighing down. And the change happens through this intense, messy processing that involves both resistance and acceptance. That friction is the heat.
So for you listening, if you're going through something similar, feeling that intense friction or pressure in your own efforts to change,
Yeah.
the message here seems to be, that's not failure. That might actually be the sign that the process is working, that you've reached the temperature needed for transformation.
Right. The energy spent just resisting might be better channeled into actually processing, using that heat to reshape things.
So the key takeaway seems to be embracing the intensity, maybe even the temporary surrender as part of the fuel.
It does seem that way. Which leads to, I think, a really interesting final thought for you to consider. If growth genuinely requires this heat, this intense pressure born from struggle, then when you're facing a really tough situation, needing to change, is the hardest part finding the will to change? Or is it actually finding the courage, the intensity to stop resisting the inherent pain of it and instead let that pain become the heat source? This source seems to suggest they're inseparable. The painful weight is the potential heat. You just have to maybe choose to let it burn productively.